Hi, Katie.
Hi, Steve.
I wanted to pick your brains really on some of your reasonings why you set up Legacy Protection and how you got involved in this business in the first place. And quite happy for you to share, your stories and again, I'll do the same if that's okay.
Yes, sure. Well, started in the world of financial advice 30 odd years ago now. And my career really has been built up as a financial advisor. But almost 10 years ago now, I was very much aware of how important it was to make sure that your wills are structured correctly in order to maximize your opportunities for passing assets on to your loved ones in the right way. Tax planning is so crucial, and more importantly, inheritance tax planning is so crucial. That I started the wills and trust business to run alongside the financial advice firm.
So what was it that made you feel compelled to help other people like this? What was your motivation behind it, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, well, actually, there was a defining moment for me, Steve. I came across some clients who asked me for advice, but this was after they had actually distributed all of their savings actually to two of their four children, one of them who was going through an extremely acrimonious divorce, and another one who was ultimately declared bankrupt. And this lovely couple had made very substantial gifts to these two children over the years, and they were seeing a big part of what they'd gifted disappearing off over the horizon. In one case, because their son was being divorced by his wife, and she expected to have a claim over the value of their house. And his parents had invested quite a lot of their own savings in that house for the two of them. And then in the other case, they had made substantial gifts to their daughter that was all being taken by receivers. So that very much highlighted for me the need to have comprehensive planning, both wills and trusts, in order to protect your assets as you're passing them on to the next generation.
Yeah, so you can get moved by other people's situations, can't you?
Yeah, very much so. Very much so.
I know for myself, really, again, a couple of defining moments, but there was a situation, and like you, I set up initially as a financial advisor. I started in 1990, and I developed the will company that we dovetail now with Legacy, based on seeing how people were treated after one of them had died, and what the impact usually was from whoever was carrying out the estate protection work and the estate administration work, but seeing how people went through a process of worrying about what would happen next, and how things would happen, and it became something that for me was instinctive. I wanted to make sure that people knew what would happen, and that they understood what processes would need to take place, and also to help allay their fears about how their estate would be passed on to whoever they wanted it to be passed on to. And after seeing two clients get treated really, really badly, it moved me enough to think I need to step in here and be more robust about how I help people. And wills and trusts and legacy planning became the ethos of why I wanted to do what I do. And like you, I'm just instinctively wishing to help people. So that's why I set up the business in the first place, and that's why I think we've got to where we are today. Is that
Yeah.
a similar thing for you?
Yes, I think I really felt that having spent so much time advising clients on their investments, protecting their assets, accumulating the value of their estate. And as you know, Steve, my clients have always been those people who are in the run up to retirement and have retirement financial planning issues. We do such a lot to help and guide and steer our clients through that period of time. It stands to reason that you would want to give them advice, not just to them, but their families also, about the best way to receive and protect assets down through the bloodline. And so writing wills with trusts and doing comprehensive estate planning sits very nicely alongside giving families good financial advice.
Yeah, and it's, for me, as well as I'm pretty sure for you, you just have that feeling of, well, this is the right thing to do, and to share that knowledge becomes much easier to help clients with. So. Okay.
Do you find, Steve, that clients find it difficult to talk about these issues?
I suppose there's a myriad of answers to that one, because some are very, very open and want to talk about it a lot, and of course that makes our job easier. But generally, people are a little bit, let's say, reserved about how they start to talk about this. And one of the things I've found is that if you can help people get over that initial hurdle of, well, what would happen if? What would be the situation if? Once you get over that hurdle, it then becomes a much easier emotive transaction, and it definitely is a emotive thing. But the protection and the legacy and the wills and making things robust and so on comes from the heart with clients usually. It takes a little while for them to open up on it. But I do find that once you have that discussion, they're quite relieved to have done so, and that's something I hope to trigger with them.
I quite often find that during conversation, we'll talk about things that they probably don't find it easy to talk about between the two of them. But when you've got an independent third party asking questions, then it makes it easier, I think, to volunteer what the answers might be, so that between the three of us, we can work out the right solutions.
Yeah, it's definitely it's useful to have that straw man, as I think has been referred to, as, you know, that third party being able to steer them. It's almost counselling. It's a little bit of helping them open up about what they really would want to have happen. And it works very well in terms of having someone, let's say, like yourself and me, with experience of knowing how these things pan out, is knowing how best to help people go through that process of understanding. So,
do you find that clients like to include their family when they're making decisions about their wills and their estate planning?
Yeah, actually, initially they don't think that way, but once they've got to that point of realizing why it's important, and we facilitate that, it becomes a very, very strong case for how you work your planning going forward. And to me, it definitely is best to include as many members of the family as possible.
I think certainly when I'm talking to my clients, I need to reassure them that we don't have to talk about the numbers. Quite often they don't want to reveal the value of their estate or the details to their children, but talking about the concepts is really important. Talking about why they would do robust planning with trusts. I think it is important that the family understand that it's been put in place for them and to protect them and their future and future generations of the family. Yeah. So I think it is an important conversation to have with the children and possibly grandchildren as well.
Yeah, and I know you're quite an advocate of drawing out a family tree, aren't you? You like to get that family tree on a sheet of paper to help understand all the dynamics of what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting when you're talking to clients, even in the most well-regulated family environments. These days, it's not unusual to have second, third marriages, uh, step grandchildren, stepchildren, blended families. We have to include all of those nuances in the estate planning ultimately. And there are some clear ways forward when you're dealing with these things, and thankfully some very good provision in order to make sure that beneficiaries don't lose out and you're passing your estate to the right people at the right time.
Yeah, well, it sounds like we have a very similar ethos of how we want to help, but also how we want to help people plan and see through what it is that could happen, as well as help them plan to make sure the things they want to have happen. So,
Yeah.
oh, well, thanks for that. That was good insight, and I think we're on the right page to help as many clients as we can, aren't we?
Certainly are.